Good morning. Here comes the sun. I got a lot of birds in these sad little 3 cypress trees down here. And the eagle keeps coming by and bothering them all and trying to attack them, which, again, is perfectly normal eagle behavior. So I've got to set an angle here, trying to see if you can see him when he comes by to pester his buddies or his nannies. But he's been by 3 or 4 times and dislodged them all from the tree to not be in it. And he's hunting. Okay. Chapter 19. Working for my habit. Back in LA, I fell into funky times. I thought I wanted to stay clean, but I really didn't. I really wanted to get high, stay high, live high, and if the stuff was too strong, die high. That's the pelicans, black-tip pelicans flying by. With John Lewis socked away in jail indefinitely, I had no protector, supplier, or booking agent, no one to manage or manipulate me. I had to manage and manipulate myself. I didn't do a great job. But one thing's for sure, I found work when I had to. I was essentially working for my habit. Here comes some more. If you can see them. Alright, here comes the sun with the beautiful colors. Leonard Chess had a hard time getting me in the studio. Everyone had a hard time getting me to do anything. But I always managed to work, and I could always sing. Some people can't work high. I can. I'm not saying I wouldn't have sung better if I'd been straight. Sobriety always helps. But I can't lie and say dope destroyed my gift. I didn't want to boast, but I may be one of those singers who has enough power to overcome the fog and filter of drugs. Anyway, Leonard did find a way to lure me to Chicago or New York every once in a while and get a session out of me. He said I was still his #1 crossover artist. He still had me singing At Last type ballads and Motowny Stop the Wedding type top 10 tunes. And if you ask the producers, they'll tell you I did my stuff in 1 or 2 takes. I'm a quick study. I'd learn the song fast, get the feeling and tempo I needed, and go in and cut the sucker. I don't read or write music, but my instincts are good enough that I can master different kinds of material in short order. I thank God for giving me good ears and a strong voice. If you want to really know what I sounded like back then, listen to Etta James Rocks the House. It's been reissued by MCA in compact disc, and because it's a live show at the New Era Club in Nashville, it'll give you a good idea of the raw me. Oh, it's pretty. Okay, I see by the cover picture that I have red hair piled high on my head. I got those cat eyes, huge loop earrings hanging down, and a scowl on my face saying, "Don't mess with me." I'm wearing this crinoline white dress, one shoulder off, one shoulder on, with sparkles around the bodice and waist. I'm looking heroin thin and halfway healthy. Hey. Oh, that's the eagle. Okay. I opened by kicking and growling and working up the crowd with the Holy Ghost of something's got a hold on me. The band is basically funky rhythm plus a meaty organ and tenor. This is sure enough soul club material before the golden age of soul really exploded. Who knows? It might have even helped cause the explosion. I tear into Jimmy Reed's Baby What You Want Me to Do, where I do my little mouth harp imitation. Early on, I realized I can imitate lots of instruments: trombone, sax, bass. I can also imitate other voices like children and animals, though my best imitation would always be my version of Dorothy. I mean, I can sound just like the woman. I break into Ray Charles, What I Say, and Berry Gordy's Money, which is really a slightly rewritten Ray. Hearing the two songs together is like watching the 50s turn into the 60s. Ralph Bass was the producer, and like me, he loved keeping everything basic as a barnyard. 7-Day Fool, another Berry Gordy, Bill Davis song, was something of a hit for me. I do my buddy B.B. King's Sweet Little Angel, and woke up this morning dead ahead moaning low blues, and then Jesse Hill's good rockin' Oh Pood Pod Do. For good measure, there's another Jimmy Reed, Ain't That Lovin' You Baby, plus a song by Willie Dixon, who was the king of the chess writers, mainly because he was the only one who knew how to file a copyright. I Just Want to Make Love to You, All I Could Do Was Cry, is on there too. It was an aging hit, but the crowd still wanted it. Okay. This was essentially the same show you'd catch at the Hideaway in LA. There I might be singing with as many as 3 tenor saxes. Monster cats like Plass Johnson and Clifford Scott, the man who blew the blistering solo on Bill Doggett's Honky Tonk. There'd be blowing hard enough to raise the roof off that joint, inspiring me to sing even harder. So through thick and thin, high times and low, I kept singing, pushing on with what became my peculiar combination of blues, ballads, and rocking rhythm things. I'm not sure what happened to my record royalties. I'm not sure whether Leonard ever paid any. If he had, though, you know damn well I'd have shot him up in no time. Mainly it was gigging in the black clubs in the neighborhoods of the big cities that kept me in business. In LA, things were so funky I had to rent out my house on Athens. I needed the money. That's when I moved in with my cousin Alice. Bless her heart. Alice was my playmate from childhood. She and her family cheered for me when I sang in church. They were my middle-class family in Pasadena. Respectable folk who made me feel like I was part of a bigger world. When Mama Lula died and Dorothy snatched me up and took me to Frisco, I was out of touch with Alice for years. When I left, I was little James Etta. When I came back and Alice came to see me sing, I seemed to be saying, "Look, Alice, I'm Etta James. I'm all grown up. I'm built nice. I got blonde hair. I got At Last. I go with one of the moon glows. This is my Cadillac. This is my heroine." Alice was awestruck. She wanted to know about the drugs. How did they make me feel? "Great," I said. I was snorting then, and she said, "Give me some." She dug it, and just like that, my cousin, always so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, followed me down that path. Later I'd call her the mad scientist because of how she mixed her smack. For a long while she was just skin popping, but soon wanted to mainline. Hit me, she'd say. If you want to be a junkie, I'd tell her, you're going to have to hit yourself. And she did. When I was in financial and emotional doldrums in the mid-60s, Alice was my refuge. She was divorced from her husband and taking care of her 2 kids, Kim and Brett. Her house on Vineyard became my crash pad. Alice would be the first to tell you that she liked her drugs, but didn't have my compulsion or huge appetite for the stuff. Alice knows how, when I get up in the morning, I can be evil. No one wants to wake me. No one wants to mess with me for the first 2 or 3 hours of the day. But unlike others, Alice wasn't ever put off by my moods. I never intimidated Alice, which made me like her even more. To this day, she's the only person who still calls me James Etta. I was comfortable living with my cousin. You've probably guessed that I'm not an early riser. The hours before noon have never interested me. Well, there's this true story that Alice loves to tell. I was sleeping at her place, must have been nearly 2 p.m., when she smelled something burning in the backyard. Soon, smoke was creeping through the house. She came to wake me up. James Etta, she said, get your big ass out of bed. I didn't hear and didn't care. I was dead asleep. Meanwhile, she called the fire department. She saw me finally open my eyes and reach for my wake-up fix. That's how I started off my day. Fire or no fire. I went to the bathroom to shoot up. I could hear commotion around the house. I could smell the smoke, but I was set on getting my fresh morning high. Just when the needle hit my arm, a fireman came crashing through the door. Hey, lady, he yelled, there's a fire. Not in here, buddy, I replied nonchalantly, and went on with my business. Alice cracked up. She couldn't stop laughing. How nothing, not even catastrophe, could keep me from my habit. The fire never reached the house, and I spent the rest of the day high. At one point, getting high was getting me so distressed, I had Alice check me into USC County Hospital to kick. Man, I was miserable. Alice's mom, my Aunt Emma, came to visit me, which only made matters worse. I loved my aunt, but unlike Alice, Emma was square as a box. She had no idea I was this serious junkie. Alice told her I was in there for feminine problems. On the day Aunt Emma showed up, I was going through the torture of withdrawal. I didn't want to talk to no one. She kept asking me questions, and I kept looking away. Finally, she called for my physician and said, Doctor, what in the world is wrong with this child? What's wrong with her? The doctor bellowed. Lady, this woman's got enough heroin in her to kill a horse. When I got out, I was feeling better. Once again, I'd managed to kick my dope dependency. Too bad I wasn't aware of how my other dependency on rotten men was just as dangerous. All right, next story from Rage to Survive, Etta James. Billy Foster was the next main man in my life. For 5 or 6 years, he was there like a bear. Oh, goodness. Birds. All right, sorry. For 5 or 6 years, he was there like a bear. He was a decent, excuse me, he was a decent-looking cat with light brown eyes and a tough exterior. He used to sing with a group and run with an LA gang. He was the lightest-skinned man I'd ever gone with. Why I was attracted to him? I was still thinking about someone to take care of me. My thinking, you see, was still warped. Ironically, I met him during a period when I was clean, fresh out of USC County Hospital, and feeling halfway good. He was fresh out of prison. He'd been a singer, but was really a nickel-dime hustler. When I met him, he was selling hot clothes at the 5-4 ballroom. In fact, first thing he said was, "Hey, I got this real pretty black dress. It looks like it's made for you." I tried it on and gave him $50. Can't tell which way to go here, friends. Okay. Time passed and I forgot about the guy till I bumped into him at the California club. Those were the years, the mid to late 60s, when Black LA was filled with nightclubs. Marty's on the Hill, Memory Lane, the It Club on Washington across from the Ebony Theater, the LaRue Club, the Parisian Room on La Brea, the Champion Room, the York Club on Western and Florence. I worked them all. R&B acts weren't working Hollywood. We were working the neighborhoods. And after the regular gigs, we'd hit the after-hours joints like De La Soul, where Ike Turner's band would be playing for the party people till the wee hours. On a local, small change level, business was good. Things were looking up for me, at least a little. I stopped living at Cousin Alice's, stopped crashing on people's couches. I was tired of waking up half smashed and hearing folks whispering, "Etta James is in there. That's Etta James on our couch. Etta James, a singer. Oh, yeah, everyone knows she's a junkie, but she's going to stay here a while. We're not worried. She can always make money. She's Etta James. She'll pay us back." In 1965, as 1965 bled into 1966, I was starting to get a grip on myself. Flew up to Chicago, where I recorded a duet with my old friend from San Francisco, Nutty Wild Ass Sugar Pie DeSanto. I dug singing In the Basement, a song that took us back to when we were kids, cutting up, smearing on lipstick, kissing on boys, being bad gang girls with our homemade tattoos and floppy jeans. With happy voices chattering in the background, the record is an all-night long party with funky music blaring. In the basement, we sang. That's where it's at. Child in the basement. By then, Motown's teenage music had really caught on. I always knew Barry and his sisters were gifted. After all, I'd had hits with their songs. And I also knew Harry Fuqua and Marvin Gaye were tremendous talents. Motown and chess had common origins and close ties, yet there was this difference. Berry Gordy, like Chuck Berry before him, went after the white teenager because the white teenager had the money. Smokey Robinson's song for Mary Wells, or the Holland Dozier Holland songs for the Supremes, all had a lighter feel to them. That's not to detract from their quality. My Guy or Stop in the Name of Love are beautiful. But the name of the game was go for the white market, and the marketing strategy changed the music. Leonard Chess didn't have that kind of smarts. He threw you in the studio and told you to sing in the basement. For example, came out when Motown was at its height, but it's black as the ace of spades. No compromising, no marketing strategy, just undiluted R&B. Something else. Barry was super concerned that his artists appear respectable. He set up a charm school so Martha and her Vandellas and the Temps knew how to curtsy and bow when they met the Queen of England. He dressed his women to look like dolls and his men to look like penguins. Leonard Chess never thought twice about that shit, and neither did I. While Barry was working ways so that Marvin and Smokey's miracles could happen on Ed Sullivan, I was still working. Hey, good morning. I was still working local dives. I ain't blaming no one. Given my wild ways, I was lucky to be working at all. And besides, even if Leonard had set up some charm school to make me appear acceptable to the white world, I would have laughed. The Queen of England is going to have to take me the way I am. I think my rebellious nature drew me to Billy. Billy reminds me of that tune, Ain't Nobody's Business. Friends warned me. People said, hey, this cat's no good. But like the song says, if I get a notion to jump into the ocean, well, that's my business. So here comes someone I thought was Mr. Cool, Mr. Tough, Mr. Take Care of Business. Well, Mr. Wonderful turned out to be Mr. Disaster. And when I think about how long it took me to wake up, well, I'm still amazed. Man, you talk about living in a bubble. All right, that's the end of chapter 19. Thank you for being with me. I appreciate you. Chapter 20 is Bitch, I'm God. And again, I think there's 30 something in this. Whatever I said, 34, 35. So we are getting there. Thank you for being with me. I appreciate you. I'm a little ready, friends.